This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
Views expressed on the following program do not necessarily reflect those of WPSL, but you knew that. And you also know that we are the ones who've encouraged you all along to like and share them on your social media and with all your friends and neighbors, because it's time to reveal some information to you you may not be familiar with. It's time for the African American Scene, presented by Martin County Roofing, an independent insurance agent, the one and only Rudy Howard.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Always glad to be with you here at WPSL. Let me tell you, first of all, let me let you know we're going to continue with the raffle, and I'm going to give you some more trivia questions. I still got multiple raffle tickets to give you.
Some of you folks have been listening in for a number of years and know what the topic of the trivia is going to be, right?
Yeah.
Probably Black History Month, but probably a good source of questions for this, wouldn't it?
Yes. What famous African American received the Medal of Freedom from President Lyndon Johnson in December 1963?
Ooh.
What famous African American received the Medal of Freedom from Lyndon Johnson, 1963? If you know the answer, that's 340-1590. You'll win a raffle ticket for the Easter House for the YMCA.
That's amazing. You could win a house.
Worth $350,000.
A $350,000 house you could win in a drawing?
Yeah, that's
amazing.
pretty good.
Yeah, real good.
Let me tell you guys, you know, I've been following this Ukraine thing like everybody else. And I have to tell you, I am deeply, deeply disturbed by an aspect of this whole thing. I don't know how many people knew it or not, but you know, you got a couple of blurbs about African Americans and Indians having a difficult time getting out of the country. There's a pretty substantial amount of Indians and Africans in Ukraine. Now, let me tell you what I found out about that. They go there, a lot of them go there for medical school. Medical school is less expensive, and so you have a population of kids that go there from India and Africa. And there is a population of African Ukrainians. What troubles me is, my God, we go halfway around the world and we still got the same issue. They didn't want to let the Africans out of the country. They were going to let the Ukrainians out first, and the Africans, even if they were there first, they were telling some of them to walk, or they just weren't letting some of them get on the bus or the train. Now, I have to tell you, I am a very emotional guy, as most of you who listen to me for a long time know. And I certainly have some compassion for what the people of Ukraine are going through. But I cannot accept the treatment of the African and Indian people that were there, some of whom just to better themselves, not causing any trouble, being a participant in trying to get a better education, and you won't let them leave. And you know, the Russian culture is not one that's very receptive to minority people. So if they're left behind, there's a good chance they could be killed. Yeah. You know.
We think getting out of Afghanistan was a mess.
Yeah, so, you know, that was... And I mean, you know, it's widely known that, you know, Russians are not real favorable about African American folks.
They're not really into civil rights, are they?
No, they're not into civil rights, you know.
That's amazing because the way the media talks about it, you think that the United States of America was the only place where racism ever existed.
Yes.
And
yes.
these are the ways we have to find these things out in the truth. We have to dig for the truth constantly, right? Rudy?
Yes,
That's what you
yes.
got to do. Got to look it up every day. Verify, verify, verify.
So give that some thought. I found that they interviewed a lady who was there, and she was told to walk to Poland. She eventually was able to get a ride. And then there was some people that they kicked off the bus. I was just really depressed about the whole thing. But what are you going to do? What I want to talk about now is we are once again rallying to the cause of another people. We're trying to get goods, blankets, money to help them. I get it. They're in a bad situation. They were attacked, unprovoked, destroying their country. But I want you to think about something for a second. We spent $3 trillion in Iraq. We spent $2.3 trillion in Afghanistan. That's $5.3 trillion. And if I had to guess, this war is going to cost us somewhere between 500 million and $1 trillion. And I'm going to tell you why. Not because we put ground forces there, but if we're going to supply planes to Poland so that Poland can supply planes to Ukraine, how much you think those planes going to cost us a piece?
War doesn't open up any discount opportunities, does it?
I don't think so. So we're going to be looking at maybe another 500 million to $1 trillion. Then we had the Republican tax cut. Again, which famous African American received the Medal of Freedom from President Lyndon Johnson in 1963?
It's not that hard of a question,
Yeah,
is it?
that's not hard. Yeah, that's a gimme.
Even if you don't know who it is, the date is a dead giveaway.
Yes.
What happened around that time? That's what you should ask yourself.
December 1963.
Uh-huh.
So let's talk a little bit about the Republican tax cut. So now we already know we've given away about 5.3 trillion in hard numbers, and I'm guesstimating another 500 million to $1 trillion, and I'm probably on the low side. And then we come to the tax cut. So we do the tax cut, and the tax cut is worth about 22.4 million. How about that? We got the tax cut. So we gave away money, we paid money for Iraq, paid money for Afghanistan. We're about to spend a boodle of money on Ukraine. We gave a tax cut. Now, all my Republican friends who talk about fiscal responsibility, I want you to listen to me very carefully, what I'm telling you. The tax cut included a giveaway to an heir's child. They revised the estate tax so that you could give to a non-working child $22.4 million with no taxes. Did you hear that? Somebody who's been laying on their butt doing nothing and it just happens to be a child of a rich person can get $22.4 million and pay no taxes.
Wow.
Think about that.
When do we get ours?
Yeah. Now, and then these were the two hidden parts of the tax cut. We all heard about the dollars, but some of you didn't hear about this estate tax cut. Then they also built in the term 1031 exchange. And I dare say nobody out there has heard what the 1031 exchange is. The 1031 exchange allows you to pass your stock portfolio to your heirs with reduced tax rate. So let me explain to you how this works. If I buy a stock for $50 million and it grows to $75 million and I sell it, I have to pay the taxes on the $25 million that I earned while it was in my portfolio. But here's the 1031. Now check this out. You don't think this game is rigged. You just listen to what I'm telling you now. You give that investment to your child when it's now $75 million. There's no taxes because they got the stock. Now, if the stock goes to $80 million, they pay taxes on the $5 million, not the $25 million that it gained. So you want to know why this game is rigged? This game is rigged. I mean, it is really, really rigged. So, and one of the things they were doing here, and they weren't even no secret about it, they was trying to pay off their donors. And their donors expected them to pay them off too. So they made all of these adjustments to the tax so that they were able to provide their donors with a payout.
Is this what they call a slush fund?
Yeah. Now, I'm going to, I keep telling y'all all the time, I haven't told you about them again recently, but I want you to look up patriotic millionaires, okay? I'm going to read their value statement. Patriotic millionaires are not lefties. Patriotic millionaires are not lefties. I'm going to read to you their value statement. Here's the 4 key elements of what patriotic millionaires believe in: political equality, a livable wage, and fair taxes. Now, you know why I like to repeat what the patriotic millionaires say? Normally, when I tell you this, you would say, you got some wild-eyed lefty giving you this information. These are not wild-eyed lefties. These are rich people. There's rich people telling you that the game is rigged. They are saying it, not a lefty. These rich people are telling you that the game is rigged. So hopefully,
how do you get them to tell the truth about something?
They just I'm going to read, here's the vision statement. The patriotic millionaires believe the country will be more stable, more prosperous when all the citizens are authentically engaged in governance process rather than ceding control to a small number of self-interested actors. We believe that the trend of growing economic inequality is both bad for society and bad for business. We believe revenue models that rely on human misery should be exorcised from our economy. We believe the government should mandate a livable wage for all working Americans rather than relying on the market. Whoa, let me read that again now here. I want you to read that one more time. We believe the government should mandate a livable wage for all working Americans rather than relying on the market, which has failed to realize that goal over 240 years of American history. We believe a national living wage law will ensure a stable level of aggregate demand, which will fuel our economy more broadly, ushering in a new era of prosperity for all Americans, including rich ones. We believe our nation's social and economic progress requires significant and constant public investment, and that the wealthy who benefit the most from our country's assets and institutions should naturally and gladly pay the greatest share of whatever taxes are needed to support that investment. Most Americans, regardless of political party, support this philosophical framework. Political power currently lies primarily with those who don't. The task ahead is difficult, but relatively straightforward. We must grow the political power of those committed to this framework and diminish the political power of those who are not committed to this framework. Every American deserves as much political power as millionaires. That is the patriotic millionaire's value statement. I would like to hear somebody tell me they have a problem with that. So you can't call up and say, that's a communist. Those are not communists. They are free market capitalists who happen to believe in fairness. And I told you a zillion times that that's where I'm at. I'm a capitalist. I believe in the market, but the market as it exists today is rigged. It is rigged. People in the middle are being squeezed. There is a lack of fairness and balance in how our economic structure works in 2022. Something has got to give. And it's up to us. It is up to us to see that it does. Because let me tell you, you're looking at what Putin is doing right now. That's where you are pushing us. You were pushing us in that direction. You wanted an autocrat to run America as opposed to a democracy. And you should feel ashamed that you think that that is the way our country should be run. When you see people in Ukraine that are willing to die for their democracy and the right to freedom and not to be under an autocratic rule, you should be shamed for thinking that that's okay. The number is 340-1590. That's 340-1590. Love to hear from you if you have an opinion. I certainly gave you some of mine, and I gave you some words from the patriotic millionaires. And see, you know why people are not calling Cliff? Because I didn't quote some lefty who they could call up and say, you believe in Marxism and communism. See, I took that away from them. That's the
people throw a lot of words around on this.
Well, that's the common. Yeah. When you talk about things like I just talked about, the first thing they would do, if I didn't tell them where I got that from, they'd call up and say I'm a Marxist, I don't believe in America, and that I want communism. No.
Remember the melting pot of America? Well, we now call it the browning of America.
Yes.
Because it is successful, and it's a fact. It's a done deal. I mean, I've got some beautiful grandchildren, and you know, you see a lot of mixed races, some of the most beautiful people in the world.
I got some mixed grandkids myself. So, okay. But anyway, so why am I telling you all of this? I'm telling you all of this because when President Biden proposed legislation to make a permanent pay down for preschool, he said you couldn't afford it. We can't afford that. We don't want to make this a dependent society. We don't want to do that. Why do we want to make this a dependent? We don't want to make this a dependent culture. But we can spend millions and billions of dollars on war, billions of dollars on tax cut for the rich, but you don't want to put some money together to try to help people with preschool expenses?
The Head Start program for a number of years was probably the most awesome thing for kids out there because they were getting that head start that they needed.
Well, yes.
You got to have, before you get to first grade, you got to know something about what it's like to go to school.
Yes. Now, the conservatives have roundly criticized Head Start, but there is. I did some research, and they have discovered that kids that have a high quality preschool education are more apt to do better in school. Okay, and I can tell you why that is, because when Mike Lannon was here as our superintendent, he and I became pretty good friends, and one of the things that he told me, he says, you know why some kids do better than other kids? It's the language they're surrounded by from the time they're little. The words that they hear, they're immersed in language and words. And
limited vocabularies.
Right. Yeah. So if a kid has been exposed to words and phrases and learning that is different from what other people have, it's going to have a positive effect. Now, listen, there's no doubt about there's going to be some kids, because of the intellectual gifts God has given them, that will rise above it no matter what, because the Lord had just blessed them with some additional smarts. But for the basic kid, and let me tell you why I say this, because if there's one thing, when my son's friends graduated from high school, and they've all come back and told me I told them the truth. I said, all of y'all can graduate from college. And they looked at me and they said, oh, Mr. Howard, what do you mean? I said, you have to do 3 things. And I promise you, if you take these 3 things from me, when you leave from my patio this afternoon, I promise you'll graduate. You have to read a book you don't want to read. You have to write a paper you don't want to write. And you have to go to class when you don't feel like it. If you do those 3 things, it's no more complicated than that. I promise you, if you do those 3 things, you will graduate from college. Every one of those kids came back and said, Mr. Howard, you were on the money.
What I've noticed at school altogether is to teach you how to love to learn.
Yes.
And how to study.
It opens your mind up. You know, you learn things. You know, when you have to sit down there and you have to read that book you really don't want to read, oh, my God. I mean, if anybody, you probably went through it in high school, but in college, sometimes they give you these books to read, and it's like pure torture to have to sit down and read it because you're not interested in it. And sometimes, if it's a very complex subject, you got to read the page 5 times before it goes in. I mean, anybody out there who's taking any kind of technical stuff will know. Sometimes you look at that page, you go through it, and you go, I have no idea what I just read.
You ever seen an announcer put his finger in his ear?
Yeah.
You see, he does that for a reason because, well, he wants to be able to hear what he's saying with the other ear. But in the process of speaking, people say just about everything. What's the credible things to listen to? Well, when you're listening to a teacher, you've got a pretty good chance of learning something because they're there to teach you. They're professional teachers. And once you learn how to love to learn, that's when your education gets a big boost in the arm. You could become another Elon Musk.
I will tell you something. I'm going to make a true confession of myself. I didn't do as good as I could have done when I was in school because I thought there was things that I couldn't do.
Oh, I know where you're going. Yeah.
Okay, and what I have since learned is there really is nothing that you can't learn. Now, you just might have to study a little harder than somebody else, but you can do it.
Oh, yeah.
If you wanted to be a doctor, you know, I look back on it and say, if I really wanted to be a doctor, if I was willing to spend 10 hours in the library every day, like some kids did, I could have been a doctor too.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I know, and there was a guy I went to school with. He was not the smartest one of us, but he got all A's because every time you look for him, you know where he was at?
Library.
He was in the library. He was in the library, Cliff.
We used to make fun of nerds.
Yeah.
And now I are one.
He's a PhD somewhere out here in the country, but he was in that library every day. Any time, a night or day, if you wanted to find Clarence, you go to the library. Clarence was in the library. He was in the library studying. And I myself learned as I've gotten older, I was like, you know, there was no subject that was too hard for you. You just all the time was not willing to put in the sweat equity required to master that subject. But this is something you learn as you get older, and hopefully this is something that I will give to my grandchildren. I will say, don't you tell me if you want to be a doctor, be one. If you want to be a scientist, be one. Because you can. You want a lawyer, be one. You can do it. It's just a matter of spending the time because each one of us has a different level of time that it will take in order for you to master that subject. You know, somebody, it may take an hour, might take you 3 hours, but you can still master that subject. You just got to work a little bit harder.
Do a little more homework, spend a little more time in the library.
Yeah, and you know what? It equates to sports. There's some guys that play sports. They're not the most superb athlete alive, but they worked hard. When people weren't looking, they worked hard. Like I saw something on Facebook the other day, and it was a basketball player, Tracy McGrady, right? He was in the room with Kobe Bryant, and he said, he and Kobe Bryant was in the room, and Kobe said to him, oh, I don't know why you going to go work out. No, nobody's going to work out now. Everybody's going to relax. So he said, he went back to his room, and he relaxed. And he said, I don't know. I think I'm going to go downstairs to the gym. And he went downstairs to the gym, and guess who was there? Kobe Bryant. He was down there working out.
When nobody was looking, he thought.
That's right. Nobody was looking.
That's the best time to do something. Like if you're going to help somebody, do it when nobody else is looking so they can't all pat you on the back.
Right,
because that's the stuff that's really rewarding to do.
Yes.
And then you're really helping somebody. Then you're not just giving them a hindside polishing, you know, so to speak.
Yeah, I can't believe nobody wants to win these my raffle tickets. Okay. Well, anyway, so let me. So
they don't want to have to confront you, Rudy. Let them know that it's okay to call. You won't get angry with them. You might issue a challenge though. Well, we'll call it a an educational challenge.
Well, there's people out there that just heard me and they think that I'm full of you know what. Because I've had some of them stop and tell me sometime, they say, I don't know where you get some of your stuff from, but I just told you where I got that from.
And when it comes to conservative values, there's a lot of folks out there that have no idea that there are some conservative values that Rudy likes. And you know what? You don't even know about it. You don't have any idea. And if you were to know, you'd go, wait a minute. Is he a conservative?
Yeah.
No, he's not a conservative. However, there are some acceptable conservative values.
Absolutely.
There are some unacceptable ones too, but there are some acceptable ones. And Rudy knows how to find them.
Now, let me tell you what I found out about this preschool. I'm going to get back on that again.
Okay.
Well, first of all, think about this for 1 second. And this is something Roxy said, and it's kind of stuck with me. In this county, we have 3 shelters for animals.
Yeah.
Animals that don't have a home, animals that have been mistreated, a place for them for protection. And we have 0, I'm going to repeat this again, 0 homes for people that are homeless.
It's a reality to some folks, and it's just a dreadful thought for most people. But, a lot of folks are just one paycheck away from homelessness.
Oh, absolutely. But just think about that. We got 3 shelters for pets and 0 for human beings.
What's that tell you about the human beings that are running the planet? We
well,
gotta be careful.
And listen, again, why am I on this topic? I'm watching everybody rally for the people in Ukraine. I'm looking at people staying in subway tunnels, sleeping in rooms, 2 to a cot, and everybody's rallying, trying to do something to provide them with a place to stay, clothes on their back, food in their stomach. They're willing to do that for those people that are in Ukraine. And we got Susan on line 1. Yes, Susan.
Yeah. Okay. Now, what did you want to talk about? Because I've been listening off and on, and somebody called and said you got to call about those raffle tickets.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I'm sorry. Okay, the people in Ukraine. Oh, that's terrible. I mean, it's all over the news, and what can we do?
Well, I know that's it. It's Susan. It just makes me very sad that we go halfway around the world and we still got the same dag-blasted problem. It's just.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, and there's. I mean, I don't know if we can do. I mean, it seems like we're trying to do, as much as we can, but it's probably not enough. But
Yeah.
I don't think we can do too much more. We can't get involved in another big war.
Oh, I agree. And
Yeah, sure.
at this point, Susan, the thing that I'm concerned about is, what are we doing to take care of our own people?
Well, see, there's that too. I, hate to say it, but we do still think about the United States of America. We
Yes.
have to,
Yes.
our own people are suffering now after the pandemic, and
Yeah.
the pandemic actually still on.
Yes.
So, I guess that, we could just talk about it, and maybe we'll come up with some answers, and hopefully, the administration comes up with the right answer.
Yeah. So you want to take a guess?
I don't know. So what do you mean?
The clues are
I said
President Johnson.
Here's the question.
Okay.
What famous American got the Medal of Freedom from President Johnson in December of 1963?
Okay, I can't. I'm trying to think, and I don't even want to guess because I don't remember, to be honest with you.
Okay.
And I should be able to remember, but I can't.
I can help.
Well, well, go ahead, give her a hint.
Okay, it was 1963. What was President Johnson really famous for around that time? He did something that made life easier for a lot of people. Do you remember what it was? It was called desegregation.
Oh, okay.
So somebody in that area got a really nice award in that area. It wasn't in that realm.
No, it wasn't.
No.
No.
It
gave-
wasn't Martin Luther King.
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, did he ever get the Medal of Honor?
I think he did later on.
Okay.
Yes, he did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good anyway. Yeah, because I was thinking, I heard not too long ago that some program I was listening to, and they were talking about it, but I don't remember which one it was. So,
Okay.
well, at least we did that. But okay, so what was he? Okay, that's what it was then.
I'll tell you who it was. It was Ralph Bunche.
Oh, Ralph Bunche. Now, where does that ring a bell from, Rudy? That's
He was union for the railroad. Yeah, Ralph Bunche. He was very famous. He was a black leader back then.
wow.
Okay. Well, Susan, I
Good
love
try.
it. I love it when the ladies call. So
Oh, yeah.
thank you for calling.
Okay, thank you. I
Okay.
love your program.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
Okay.
you. All right.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
And Winnie.
Hey, Winnie.
Hey, Winnie.
Oh, I see what I got to do. Hold on. I see. There, I got the button pushed now, Winnie.
Winnie?
About Malcolm X. They had somebody else had a Turner Benjamin Cup trying to sue the New York Police Department about some kind of something about the FBI, something about the police department had something to do with by his assassination. Maybe the FBI was on it or something. Are you familiar with that?
Had something to do with who?
FBI. That's what
Well,
do with
did you
Malcolm
say-
X. Yeah.
Were you saying with Malcolm X?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I think
Assassination.
there has always been the suspicion that there was an involvement of the FBI.
FBI.
Yes, because J. Edgar Hoover did not like Malcolm X, and he did not like Martin Luther King, and he did not like the Black Panthers. He did not like any of them. So there's always been a strong suspicion. Matter of fact, there's been some records that revealed that J. Edgar Hoover was intimately involved in smudging Martin Luther King's reputation. So I don't doubt it in 1 second that the FBI was involved in Malcolm X. Because
Assassination.
you have to remember, at that time, people were having a really difficult time accepting the idea of black people becoming part of the mainstream of society.
Yes.
And Malcolm and Martin were pushing to say, we don't want to sit in the back of the bus anymore. We want to sit on the front seat. We want to be part. We want to be part of what everybody else is part of. And that was very upsetting and unnerving to a lot of people.
You think they might can find something or open up the case or get something out of it? That they might can file a suit against the FBI or something?
No, I don't. Not at this point. I don't think so.
That happened like 1965, right?
Yeah, that happened a long time ago. The last case that I saw that happened was when they sued those guys that bombed those 4 little girls in
Oh. Yeah, yeah.
in Alabama.
Alabama.
Yeah, he got them guys, and it took them 40, 50 years before they got him. And those guys that bombed those 4 little girls in the church.
Yes.
And the only reason they got them is because the daughter of one of the guys told on him. So,
Oh. They said this guy, he confessed. He wrote a letter. He confessed that the FBI had something to do with Michael Ed's death or something. He confessed or something. So, I don't know. They could get something. I don't know. It's been so long ago. I don't.
well,
Yeah, it'd be a miracle.
well, the guy that was inside giving them inside information, he died, but he admitted that he was working with the FBI, giving them information about Malcolm X. But that was another time, and listen, our government has grown and matured and is now more inclined to protect us than to harm us. But back at that time, there was a different time and a different era with J. Edgar Hoover in charge. So, I'm willing to say that's history. And, yeah, and let's move on.
Yeah, you're right. Kim Potter, spoke chief, but you think that your right parents might appeal. They may not appeal. May not do appealing, huh? Might just let it go like it is.
What you talking about from Malcolm X?
No. Kim Potter, the lady who had accidentally killed. She had killed that your right.
Oh.
You read her. Might appeal it. They may not appeal it because 2 years. She gonna do like spoke chief, but they say that's not enough. That's not enough. They want more. They want to do at least 10.
Well, I think that sentence was. I have some compassion for her, but my friends who also own firearms told me that my compassion is misplaced because they said, being a firearm owner, you should be able to tell the difference between
a taser
and a gun.
The mere weight alone is a dead giveaway.
Well, that's what my buddy said. He said, "No, I'm sorry.
You can't.
He said,
right.
He said, I've had. He's a big firearms guy. He said, no, I ain't buying that.
Right. Hello, a lot of people said that's fine. Because she been a force 23 years. She should know.
Yes, she was.
Between a taser and a gun.
Yeah, she should, yes.
And she just do 14 months. They're like a vacation.
That's nothing, really.
And they said that judge, she went below the guidelines.
She did.
And they said, and then was a guilty verdict.
Yeah.
That kind of bad. A guilty verdict went below the guidelines. Nothing can be done about it. That's what I'm trying to ask.
Well, I don't know. I asked one of my attorney buddies whether there might be an appeal since she made such an emotional decision from the bench. I was thinking that there might be some grounds for an appeal, but he said he didn't think so. So I don't know. We'll have to see.
We have to see. Oh, that's bad, ain't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Got so disappointed. I said, I understand that. That's bad. Okay, we'll be talking. Okay. All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Winnie. Wow.
Yeah, she's one of my faithful listeners. So now let me just say this to you about the thing I was saying about the schooling. If we can find money for all these other things, we're going to rustle up some money for Ukraine. I sure would like to see us rustle up the money for the preschool. And I'm not going to directly benefit from that. But I would like to be able to see my grandkids and everybody else's kids also that could possibly benefit. Because one of the other side benefits of the preschool education is that they, in doing the research, found that when you give a high quality preschool education, it also helps the parents be more productive because they can then work and continue to make a decent living to help support the family. Isn't that, we want that to happen so that they don't have to have any kind of public assistance? Because my friends, quietly as it's kept, and if you dare me, I'll provide you with the documentation, 75% of the people that receive a supplemental nutrition program work. So if we can help parents with their preschool, they can work and we don't have to give them supplemental assistance. But think about it. What I really want you tonight is I'm giving you this information because I want you to think about it. Just think about all the dollars that we have spent on war, and now it comes to spending money on our kids, and we say we can't afford it. And you know what I say to that? Phooey. I say phooey to that. If we can spend the money on war, and we're going to come up and spend another $1 billion on Ukraine, my God, let's come up with some money for the preschool program. Can you might be a conservative, but can you agree with me on that? Don't you think that's a worthwhile investment? If you're willing to invest the money in Ukraine, you're willing to invest money in Iraq, money we invested in Afghanistan, can we invest some money in our kids? How about that? Can we do that? Is that hard?
I bet we could. Remember the research you did about the prison system versus the college system?
Yes.
And the cost?
Yes.
You get in trouble every time you bring it up.
That's right.
But then again, it's worth bringing it up because it makes people think. It forces them to think whether they want to or not, and it's a logical thing to do, folks. You got a brain. You were gifted with a brain. Use it.
And what Cliff's talking about, because it always creates controversy.
Oh, yeah.
Because I did the homework. You can send somebody to Florida State, room, board, and tuition, cheaper than incarcerating them for a year. Now, I had one guy call up and challenge me about that, and he never called back again, because when he went out and did the work, he found out that I was right.
Well, when the dog runs with his tail between the legs, it's quite obvious.
So if you can do that, if you can send somebody to school, room, board, and tuition for cheaper than you can send them to incarceration, I think that's a no-brainer. I'm not talking about convicted murderers. I'm not talking about sending a convicted murderer to school.
No.
But if a kid got picked up with 2 joints and he's doing 5 or 10 years in jail, and don't say that's not happening, because it is happening. There's some kids in jail for 2 joints for 10 years. Don't you think we can make a more productive citizen out of that person than locking them up and spending all the money that gets spent?
Well, we're not learning from the history we created.
Yes. So my challenge to you tonight is, everybody talk, well, I don't want to create a dependent society, and if we help pay for kids' preschool, we're creating a dependent society, and if we pay for kids 2 years tradition of junior college, they're not working hard. Well, folks, I got some news for you right now, if you haven't heard it. IRSC has made an offer.
Yep.
Those kids that are seniors in St. Lucie schools right now this year,
now, this is now thing happening. Yeah.
they can go to IRSC for 2 years. How about that?
Get that bachelor's degree.
Yeah, how about that? How about that? happening right here in our community, making a reinvestment in our children.
A reality we've only dreamed about until now. Here it is right before us.
So are you going to call them a liberal squish because they decided to do that? Are they squishy?
What are you going to say when it's successful? You know,
Yeah,
some
listen,
people criticize everything just for the sake of criticism because it's just mean people sometimes.
if you take a kid and he graduates from IRSC, maybe he gets a 2-year degree in technical, which is a ton of IT jobs out there right now. They can't even find all the people to fill all the jobs.
Not to mention all the vocational classes you could take courses over
Yep,
too.
yep. And they come out and they become tax-paying citizens. Was it worth the investment? I think so.
Always, yeah.
I think
Investing
so.
in the children and investing in our own children.
Yes,
Hey, we can do that.
I think so.
And then cheer them on while they're there. You know.
Oh man,
Always
hey, listen, I'm pulling for the kids that get in that program, and I promise you, I will follow up with the president of the college and see if I can make arrangements to talk to him on this show about that program.
Oh yeah.
I will get him on if he's willing. I'm gonna get him on the show to talk about the investment in the kids for the program, because I think it's exciting, and I think we all should learn about it. And listen, I know so many of you don't agree with me, but just try to absorb what I was telling you this evening.
Just think. That's all. Just think.
Think about it. Just give it some thought. Was I making some sense to you? Did I prick a little bit of your conscience to make you think, well, maybe he's right? Maybe we can't afford to do that if we can afford to do all those other things.
All right.
So I have to say, the hour went by pretty fast, and I got to tell you, I was talking about something that I felt a great deal of passion about, and I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in to the African American scene. God bless and be safe, and I will see you next Monday right here for the African American scene.
And you'll be moving back to Wednesdays soon as well,
Very
so keep
soon.
an ear open for
Yes,
that.
Yes, okay.
Done it again, Rudy.
Okay, thank you.
All right. And of course, our callers, we got to thank them too. And don't feel bad if you don't know all the answers to the questions when it comes to like a little trivia contest and things like that. This is good stuff to know. Black history, which has been pretty much suppressed by I guess like the mainstream movers and shakers. Don't forget, history is written by the winners. Now you know what part of that plan wound up as. And hey, thanks for joining us every Monday night until it goes back to Wednesdays, 6:05 to 7. The African American scene presented by Martin County Roofing, and of course, independent insurance agent Rudy Howard. This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast, on Google Home, Alexa, and the TuneIn app on your smartphone.